Welcome. We're in the middle of something huge. We know it, we feel it. And I think I'm talking to a specific group of people. Because for a lot of us, this isn't the first time that we're speaking up, that we're protesting, that we're writing, that we're feeling the need to respond, to push back. I mean, certainly generationally, this has been happening for years, tens and hundreds of years. But even since 1992, it feels like it's been on a repetitive cycle, and the gaps are getting closer and closer together. And at least in the past 5 to 10 years, I know that I have had to defend something in the movement, to try and say something very, very frequently. This is different. This time is different. You feel it. And one of the big differences is that you're here. It's the first time. So thank you. If this is your first time being here, thank you. You just woke up. That's not a bad thing. That's a great thing. We just kind of have to acknowledge it. We need to know what that means. I've been talking a lot about doing the work with people. When I speak to people who are just kind of coming into this, I have lived this long and I haven't done anything, and how is that possible, and what do I do? The answer that I give them is do the work. It's the answer that I give everybody in life about everything. I really do believe that we can work our way through a lot of things, emotionally, mentally, psychologically, personally, etc., etc. I just think that you have to work on you. But I want to talk about what the work is, because I feel like I'm hearing and seeing a disconnect, and it bears mentioning for me. So hear me out. You just enrolled in this school, right? You're the new kid in class, and you get this syllabus, and it's massive. It's a huge syllabus. And the teacher says, you know what? This isn't even all of it. When you get through this, there's more, and there's no end, because guys, this hasn't ended yet. There's so much to do, and there's so much to learn. And you skim through it, you're like, wow, there are things that I didn't know about. You start watching 13th and you think that's amazing, before someone goes, well, it came out 4 years ago, and you go, oh my God, I didn't know that. That's okay. That's fine. You didn't know, but now you know. You're going through this syllabus. And for the first few days, you're going hard, and you're posting and reposting, and you're donating, and you're going down to the protest, and you're meeting people that may look like you, that are there for the first time too, and you're saying, I see you, and they're saying they see you too, and that's fantastic. And there are other people at that protest that see you there, and they give you a pass because they need you there. They want you there. And so they go, good to see you, good to see you, good to see you, do the work. And you get it in your head that you're doing the work. I'm posting, I'm doing the work. I'm reposting, I'm doing the work. I'm reading the memes and the infographics and the articles, and I'm doing the work. Well, that's part of the work. And at some point, and this is one of the things I'm seeing, and this is what I want to address right now. At some point, you look over at somebody who looks like you. You look over and you go, I can't see them doing the work. So you call them out. That's what you're used to, right? You're used to expecting people to show their work. That's the social structure that has been in place for this long. That is privilege. The privilege in this case, in that moment, is the audacity to say, I'm doing it. Show me that you are too. It feels very reasonable. I get it. I live with different types of privilege as well. I do it too. I do the work. We all have the work to do. We're just on different pages of the syllabus. And so you kind of say to this person, you say, oh, you should be this, or why aren't you that, or how are you going to atone for this, or make amends for that? And you think you deserve a reply because the work. And you do it publicly, right? Because that's the world that you've existed in. It's this whole life of accolades, of recognition, of calling out someone's work. And calling out someone's lack of work points to the work that you've done, right? But here's the miss. That's not the work. The posts, the articles that are going around, the memes, the infographics, the donations even. And the donations are huge. Donate. Bail funds. Not to get off track. Donate. That's not the work. That's the PR of it. Does that make sense? That's the PR of it. That is us placing the work on a platform to rally peers, to rally allies, to get people to see this, to make sure that the voices cannot be ignored. That's the PR of it. It's swaying public opinion. Does that make sense? The work is different. The work is quiet. The work happens at home. It happens while you're driving in your car. It happens while you're out in the world and you confront something that punctures you, that gets you, that hurts you, that confuses you, that raises your ire, that fractures your fragility. And in that micro moment, you get to do the hard work. You get to do the dismantling. You get to do the introspective work. You get to look at yourself and say, where am I actually in all this? Because the posts have a news cycle, and we're almost at the end of it. People are already going back to posting about normal life. And we need balance. I'm not saying don't post about your normal life. We need balance. But if we're getting true balance, this is a part of it. It's all a part of it. This work is reading the books by yourself, right? And using what you're learning in those books to put your privilege under the lens. The work is finding people who look like you and have lived like you and sitting around a table and talking about whiteness, privilege, fragility, guilt. What do they mean? Are these just words that were put together to hurt you? Maybe there's more to it. You know there's more to it because you're here, right? You woke up, you're already starting to do the work. And I'm talking about this, I'm saying this out loud because I want to make sure that people are holding themselves accountable to what that work is. I don't care if people are holding each other accountable to what the work is. I actually truly believe that if you are able to hold yourself accountable to what the work is, that will change your narrative, which will change the narrative in other people. It will force the narrative to change in other people because they won't have an ally in the mess of it. They won't have an ally in the exercise of privilege, in the exercise of fragility. They won't. They will be on an island by themselves. That's not where they want to be. That's not where you want to be. We want to be together. We know that. Examining the ways that you benefit from remaining a part of a silent system. You didn't build the system. You didn't make the system. But you benefit from it. A good friend once, talked about it as a pool, and I will totally ruin his beautiful, brilliant metaphor, but it's like, you didn't make the pool, but you swim in it. You swim in it every day. You have a pool pass. You have a pass. And so at some point you do have to reckon with that. And that point, for me, is now. For me, it was, let's just say that point is now. You use the pool. You're using the pool. The work is you. It's addressing you and learning how to grow. How to engage compassion and empathy and perspective, and how to change the lens through which you've been looking at things. It's like you just got to the party. Don't change the music. Listen. Find your rhythm. This syllabus is long. There's a lot to it. There's a lot of chapters. It's not going to be fun. And if there's a moment that you're reaching beyond your sphere, if you're addressing things that are not on the chapter that you're on with somebody to challenge or to shame or to accuse or to impugn, I just ask you to take a beat and check out what chapter you're on. Is that where you're at? You don't need to be bulletproof. I'm not saying don't call out racism. Sorry, I just want to be really clear about this. I'm not saying don't call out racism or racist acts. I'm not saying don't address the system at play. But I am saying your backyard's a mess. Start tending to your backyard. Tend to your backyard with 99% of your time. And use that 1% to look around and see how everyone else is doing. Because if the work is about education, and the work is about beginning to remove the lens through which you've been seeing things and figure out a new lens to put on it, it's going to allow you to see other people as whole individuals, which is how we're asking to be able to show up in the world. I want to show up as my full self. I don't want that compromised or sacrificed. And so if you're beginning to do that work in your own backyard, then when you look in other people's backyards, it's not about challenging or accusing or shaming. It's about lifting them up. It's about offering tools of education, sharing, co-discovering. This needs allies. And allies need each other. But allies need education. Because there's a system at play. You feel me? There's a system. It's not a person. It's not a group of organized people. It's an ideology that is living underneath everything that we're doing, moment to moment. And the only way you can start to dismantle the system is if you know what you're looking at. Because for most of you, the system has been invisible. And systematic racism is not to say that if there was, that if nobody was racist, it would go away. It's to say that there is a thing that is currently living in the world that even if there is nobody around who was different than anybody else, there would still be a disproportionate infringement upon a certain group. This system expands beyond an anti-black sentiment, right? We say BIPOC. If you are a woman and you have been the victim of hate or contempt or dismissal through the patriarchy, this is the system at play, right? It's everywhere. No one's immune to it. And so the work that we need to do as activists starts as human beings. We need to learn. We need to learn how we got here. We need to start to unbraid the narrative back to the point that we missed the information. And if this sounds like I'm telling you to do the work, I just want to be really clear. This syllabus is long. I might be on chapter 95. You might be on chapter 1. I have friends that are on chapter 300. I don't know how many chapters there are. That makes sense? We just have work to do together. We know that you can fight. We know that you will fight. You woke up, right? We see you. And so there's something else about this work. And actually, a good friend of mine just did a post on IG Live TV that I thought was very special. because he allowed you to see him working through something, which not a lot of people are willing to do, and not a lot of people are smart enough to do, quite frankly. He is white. He is a member of the LGBTQ community. He lives in the United States. He went to a protest, and he was confronted by somebody, a black man, who said, "You're not ready to be here. You don't belong at this protest." And in that moment, it triggered everything in him. How could it not? You're out here doing your best. You're doing your best, right? You believe, you have friends that you're speaking to, you make the sign, you show up to a day at the protest, and you're saying, my voice is among a chorus of voices, and I want it to matter with yours because your lives matter. It sounds right. I think that's great. And in that moment, when this man confronted him, instantly it triggered his white fragility, which was, if you don't want me here, I can leave. Or if I'm not welcome, this isn't for me. And he wasn't mad. He was hurt. Again, how could you not be? It hurts to not be included. It hurts to not be let into the party. But that's not what the guy was saying. The guy was alluding to something more difficult. And my friend, after moments of reflection, picked up on this and ran with it. And this is what I think is beautiful, is that he understood that in that moment, what the gentleman was alluding to was, this costs you nothing. Making the sign, raising the fist, chanting, no justice, no peace, no justice, no peace, over and over, costs you nothing. Because there's somebody next to you who might have to take a bullet. Right now, they're rubber bullets. They haven't always been. They may not be for long. Is that where you're at? I don't ask that as a challenge. I ask that as a question that you should ask yourself. What are you risking to be here? Because a lot of people who've been in the middle of it have been risking things from the moment they realized how they were seen. Again, it's not a challenge. I'm not saying, what are you willing to be? Will you get shot? It's not that. It's, do you understand the stakes involved? How uncomfortable are you willing to be in your day-to-day life in order to do this work? Knowing that you're going to find things in you that you might not know are there. You are going to discover that when push comes to shove, you do perpetuate racist ideologies. You do. There's kind of no way around that. See it, own it, admit it, and then do something. If today is your first day at school, no one expects you to be the valedictorian, but you can be. That's where we can get to. That's where everyone can get to. And part of the work will be looking back on your past and saying, what have I done? What have I not done? What have I said and what have I not said? And what were the times that I was supposed to stand up and say something and just didn't? Because my comfort, my illusion of safety, was more important, or I valued more than the person on the other side. What are those moments? That's going to be a part of the work. You can go back to those people if you want. You don't have to. They may not want you to, because it hurts. But inside you, that narrative has to change. And it will. There's somebody that I truly feel people should be following. Janaya the Future has brilliant things to say. I will be linking them on my page as frequently as they say things that absolutely blow my mind, which seems to be every time they speak. But they speak about the narrative. And this is something that I believe in. I'm an artist and a writer, and the idea of narrative has always fascinated me, because I truly believe that the story we have told ourselves is the story that we breathe life into and manifest to be true. I do. If you've grown up telling yourself that something is one way for your entire life, that's what you're going to see. That's the world that you're going to see. So how do you rewrite that narrative? I know it sounds insane that I'm going to say it again. You do the work. You do the hard work of reading books, of watching docs, of following some of the brilliant leaders that are showing up online, right? Like, there are some amazing people that are smart in ways that, I mean, I'm in this and I don't know how they put this all together, but I do know they've been doing the work. They've been doing the quiet work inside. The Unplugged Collective and Adrian Michael Green, Kendrick Simpson, Amanda Seales, like, find them. Curious Parenting, The Conscious Kid, like, these are all just IG accounts that you can follow. It costs you nothing. You're on IG all the time anyways, right? Aren't we all? And there's going to be another thing that you're going to start hearing, and it's important. And I beg you to find someone smarter than me to talk to you about it. And I'm just going to scrape at it. But you're going to start to hear defund the police a lot. And there's a good reason. There are great reasons. The structure of policing, the infrastructure, the system that policing is a part of. I mean, you're already starting to see it. And right now, if you're in Canada watching me, which you probably are, it's so easy to think, yeah, it's not here. Guys, it's here. It's here. I'm going to tell you something in 1 second, but Canada's not immune to this. Canada's right in the middle of it. There's no difference. But you're going to start hearing defund the police. And I want you to find someone smarter than me, because there are some amazing, articulate, eloquent speakers who can put this into perspective so quickly and so crystal clear. And Janaya the Future is definitely one of them. But when we talk about defunding the police, maybe it would serve you to think of it from the perspective of better funding our communities. They go hand in hand. The police budgets are insanely inflated. It's crazy. You're looking at a quarter of a city's budget minimum is going to fund the police. And yet you have 2% of a budget going towards housing. And we wonder why people don't have somewhere to live. We wonder why people don't have things to eat. We wonder why there are different levels of mental health crises happening. We can fix all that. We can address all of that. We can begin to make inroads with all of that. But change requires sacrifice. And the argument for defunding the police also isn't to say there is no form of law enforcement in any way. It's not that. It's to say that we're using the right tool at the right time. We're no longer sending people in, excuse me, who are ill-equipped to do the job that we are asking them to do. That's not to say that police are not equipped to do their job. I am saying that we are asking police to do a job that they are not equipped to do. They don't deal in mental health. That's not their gig. That's not their training. That's not their interest. We will find over time that the face of this if we want to call it law enforcement, that the face of it will start to look different. It'll look empathetic. It'll look compassionate. There'll be elements of it that are still about justice, but that it has more to do with community justice, taking care of the people, taking care of the community, healing. Healing. I don't know that I think that funding and serving our communities is a radical thought. I don't. The police don't work for everybody. I know that people hear that, and some people have one reaction, some people have another. That's fine. I can only talk about myself. I'm 38. I show up in the world as black. I'm mixed race. I have nothing to be afraid of. I've been followed, I've been stopped, I've been questioned, I've had guns pulled on me by police. This is in Canada. This is in Canada. And I don't often talk about this because up until now, no one's listening. In Vancouver, there have been protests. I didn't go to the first protest. I drove down. I sat in my car. I watched the police walk by with their gear. I saw some amazing protesters walk by with signs, and I was so overwhelmed with emotion that I immediately started crying. Excuse me. And decided I need to go home. That wasn't my place to be. It didn't feel right. It didn't feel safe. It just didn't. The second time, I thought about going. I have a niece who's been leading the resistance in Vancouver, and it's amazing to watch. And she got up on stage, and I didn't go. And I got a phone call. She was concerned. She thought she was in a bit of danger, and I said, I'll be there. And I drove down. I parked 2 blocks from a protest. And I got out of my car. I have a car seat in my car, just to paint a nice picture. And I walked 12 feet to the corner, holding my phone. There are people around, and there's 2 police, maybe about 15 feet from me, standing outside their car, just chatting. And they looked up and they saw me and they said, "Where are you going?" And I froze. I didn't freeze because I was scared. I froze, excuse my language, because what the fuck? It might not resonate with everybody, but they didn't ask everybody that question. The white dude who parked across the street from me, who put on what looked like an old gas mask and walked past me a moment before, I didn't say anything to him. They didn't accost me. They didn't follow me. They weren't accusing. They weren't challenging. They were just asking. They were asking a stupid question. There was a protest 2 blocks over that I was standing at the corner of, and to ask where I'm going seems a little, you probably know, but that's not the point. Why was that your business? Why was that a place that you can go with me? Why was that a place that you can go with me? How often have you been out somewhere where the police just randomly popped over to ask you where you were going? Because that's happened to me a lot. And that's a micro. It's the smallest thing. And I'm not saying those 2 individuals were bad or good. I don't know them. Doug and Mike, I don't know. Who are they? We're not friends. But they're on the inside of an institution that is completely overrun by the system of oppression. And so that question to them was normal, because I appear the way I appear, and that guy who walked by me appears the way he appeared. And we have different rules. There's a different social contract between the 2 of us. Or rather, there's a different enactment of the social contract on their part between the 2 of us. The argument of defunding the police is big. It's not going to go away. And in fact, some of the leaders that we're looking at in the United States right now are, in my opinion, the closest embodiments to the people that I grew up reading about from the 60s. They really are, and watching their ascension is powerful and beautiful. And I look forward to learning with them and raising my voice with them and fighting. And I look forward to every single one of the allies who have been posting and reposting and donating and marching. I look forward to you standing side by side and raising your voice, because you're being heard. This is the thing about privilege, right? It's actually not going to go away anytime soon. Let's just throw that out there. It's not. But when privilege is used passively, it works to your benefit. When it is used actively, it is one of the greatest tools that we have in this argument. Does that make sense? Because the system at play is used to serve you. And if you can use your privilege to question how it's serving everybody, the people who are enacting the racist ideologies from an institutional standpoint are going to be shouting into nothing. There won't be anybody on the other side, because you will have woken up. You will have been doing the work. You feel me? Your level of education will be so high that when someone says something, you'll go, no, that's not right. That ain't it. And when they push back, and they will push back, it won't be, well, that's not right because Black Lives Matters. It won't. It'll be, that's not right because education. You'll have so much to stand on that you win. I know that this isn't just about wins and losses, but it's irrefutable. If you're doing the work, if you embody the work, it is irrefutable. There is nothing that anyone can say or take away. And it will devolve on their end, and we're already starting to see it, to people screaming and pulling out guns and driving cars into... They're doing that because they're scared. I've been scared too. Fear makes you behave in very, very strange ways, but also fear makes you connect to whatever your primal story is. Change the story. The goal is to wake people up. And I think this is the point of this at 33 minutes. I'm sorry, I talk a lot, and I'm not very good at brevity. The goal is to wake people up, right? And so the point in me talking about the work and identifying that the posts are PR and that education is the work, that is the settling. And education isn't just reading the books, but applying the book to who you are and figuring out who you can be and how it all has been working in you. Hearing things when they come up, noticing your fragility when it's saying, this is making me mad and I don't want this, or I'm sad and I'm hurt and I'm going to lash out, or I'm going to accuse back, or I'm going to reverse this and make you the offender and me the victim. All of that stuff is the work. It's messy. It's just going to keep showing up. And so if the goal is to wake others up, there's an inherent problem in looking in other people's backyard and shaming them and accusing them and challenging them, because they haven't reckoned with their fragility yet. And so it's just going to get their back up. Everyone's holding their fragility here, and their privilege is here. And their education and their heart live in here. And you attack them, and you hit the fragility, and it breaks, and they put that there, and it becomes their suit of armor, and then they're out. They just peace out. They're like, I don't need this. Because you know what has been easy? Not saying shit. For generations, not saying shit has been the easiest thing. So if you want to fight me, I'm out. Well, I don't want to fight you. I want you to come and sit on the same side of the table as me. I want to figure out what chapter you're on, and I want to start at the first word, and I want to go through it with you. If we can figure that out, that's the goal. Bring them. Bring everyone. There's enough space in my pool for everyone. There's enough space at the party. But we have to figure out what page of the syllabus they're starting on, what chapter they're starting on, and start there. Not everyone's in the same place. And so if you just got to the party and you're looking at the person next to you, I want you to stop. I want you to put your eyes on your own paper. And I want, when you find something in your paper that punctures you, that affects you, that changes you, to look to them and say, like, hey, can I share this with you? I don't know if you've seen this before. Not, why aren't you? Why haven't you? You should. Does that make sense? We can be better at this. We can be better at building allies. Because here's the thing. You just woke up. I said at the beginning, that's not a bad thing. It's great. We just have to acknowledge it. Own it. You just woke up. It didn't happen by somebody bowling you over. There was a moment for you that you could hear. There was a moment for you that you could see, that you went, oh, this is me. I can't live like this. And there's a level of empathy that is required to get there. It means that if you just woke up, this thing that I am proposing is something that someone did for you. Does that make sense? We have work to do. You're going to read it and hear it everywhere. Don't ask your black friends. Don't ask people of color. We've left breadcrumbs for you. There are breadcrumbs everywhere. We've been writing about this, posting about this, talking about it, recording it, leaving it in public places for years. It's how I learned about it, and I'm in it. I started with the books. Now we have podcasts. You don't have to read, just listen. The breadcrumbs are there. There are going to be times that you have questions. If you have someone in your life that you can ask a question to, a hard question to, who has space for that, emotional space for that, where you're not saying, please do emotional work for me, they might invite you in. They might look and go, huh, last time I saw you, you were on chapter 1, and all of a sudden you're on chapter 12. Okay, let's talk. I have space for those people.